So दोस्तों Apple's WWDC finally happened and Apple is known to brush up their features very well and then release it as compared to other AI companies like Google. First of all, their Google's AI events has been very criticized because it was not as organized. Research paper is converted to a 4-minute podcast which sounds like human.
What's the core idea here?
Well, the big idea in this paper is that we can build a really effective sequence transduction model.
And they have released and unreleased many AI features in the last 1 year. So that's why Apple is releasing it later, but releasing it very well, and which we can see from WWDC as well. Their AI features are not just about adding chatbot everywhere, but to make it engaging and empowering users, as they said. And in this video, I'm not just going to talk about those features, but I'm going to tell you how these features will lock you even more in the Apple ecosystem. Because last year I made a video how I have been switching to the Android ecosystem from iPhone, and I have two phones always in my pocket, because if I lock myself in the Apple ecosystem today, I won't be able to appreciate in what ways Android is still doing better work than the iPhone. So I want to give you an example of last year. I went to an AT&T store. I have an AT&T SIM card as well as Mint Mobile SIM card. I go to an AT&T store asking them, hey, I have an eSIM of my AT&T in my iPhone. I want to switch to an Android. Can you help me with that? And the first store wasn't even able to help me. He said कि यार direct eSIM I don't have available. You will have to order an eSIM QR code and then get it, and that store did not have it. But he said if you have another iPhone, we can easily transfer AT&T SIM card from one iPhone to another. In fact, when you go to the SIM card, it can easily help you transfer any SIM card from one iPhone to another iPhone. But iPhone to Android, it's extremely difficult. And now when I went to the second biggest store in Atlanta, the corporate office, that was the only store which was able to help me shift or move my SIM card from iPhone to Android, and it was extremely difficult. Even on the customer care call, I remember it was not possible. Now, number two thing that I immediately missed switching to an Android phone from an iPhone was the Apple Wallet. So this is my Android wallet with the boarding pass. You can see this is my boarding pass for my Frontier flight, and this is on my iPhone. Now on my iPhone, I can see much more information. My gate was already up to date when I opened my boarding pass on iPhone, but there is a link on Google's wallet to check on google.com to see the updated gate information or the terminal. For example, T1, T2, T3 is not present on this boarding pass, but T1, T2 or T3 terminal was present on the iPhone's boarding pass, and that kind of made me feel like yaar, UI UX mein there is improvement needed in Android. Number three and most shocking difference is some of the podcasts I listen to. So let me show you my Apple podcast. In my Apple podcast, I listen to something called Bloomberg's Tech Podcast, which is specially they released a Foundering podcast series on Sam Altman. Very interesting show. 5 episodes, must watch for everyone. But that podcast by Bloomberg is only available on Apple Podcasts. Not even on Google Podcasts, not even on YouTube, not even on Amazon Podcasts, just Apple Podcasts, not even on Spotify. It's not just Apple Podcasts. The experience of listening to podcasts is also amazing. All the transcript, it shows transcript to every single episode. And now if I open, on the other hand, on my Android smartphone, let's say I open Spotify. Up Spotify pe you will be shocked that same podcast which has transcript available on iPhone on Spotify app, it does not have transcript available on Android on the same Spotify app. I was so shocked. Why? So let's say I open, let's say my journal podcast, which is Wall Street Journal. I listen to that a lot. So I open that podcast on Android. You will see no transcript option. Can you believe it? This app is showing me transcript. This app is not showing me captions at all. Why iPhone is given more power by external apps? This is not it. अभी एक और app भी है that I use. One of my favorite app is actually called Carrot. So if I open Carrot app, the weather app on both Android and iPhone, you will see that experience is also completely different. On Android, you see some bothering ads. On iPhone, there is no ad. There's just a button to purchase the premium version. On Android, the premium version is not even available. They are just surviving on ads. But the experience of using the app is horrible on Android, but it's amazing on iPhone. And there are similarly many more apps which I use. For example, Arc browser. On Arc browser, I can just pinch in to summarize. The whole research paper is summarized. And the app is only available on iPhone, not available at all on Android. So that is my favorite browser, and I think because of these 5 things itself, it is extremely difficult to switch to an Android, and that's the reason I carry both iPhone and Android at the same time. Do you know why? Because it's extremely difficult to leave Android phone as well. अब बताता हूँ why Android is so addictive for me, and I use Android every single day more than the iPhone even after WWDC being announced today. So easily we can say that iPhone has an edge in terms of better apps. Now why better apps? Because better APIs are available for developers. Better tools are there to make apps smoother. Because I have been both Android and iOS developer, you have more tools and it's easier to make iOS apps than Android apps. Number 2 reason, there are more paying customers on the iPhone. They are used to paying and they're willing to pay money on iPhone. So that's why developers can keep making apps better and they prioritize the iPhone because that's the biggest revenue for them. And that's why developers prioritize less on Android. So that's why developers focus less on customer paying for the app on Android. यहाँ पे कई apps are there, many apps on Android where they are just relying on ads and they know their customers will never pay. And similar example was Rabbit weather app plus even the captions app I use every day. Just made like it is completely free for me to use on Android. It has never asked me to pay for it. I don't know why, but on iPhone I want to use it. Immediately it's like, no, you cannot even try it without paying for it. So that's why I'm going to tell you why I sometimes prefer to use Android than the iPhone. Number 1 reason, as I just said, that if you don't want to pay for apps legally, there are many apps which never charge you on Android, like the Captions app, amazing captions that I have used. It has never asked me so far to pay. It shows me some paid features where I can pay, but most of the app is free on Android, but entire app is paid on the iPhone. Now, number 2 favorite thing about Android for me is that always forces me to use this for my emails, office work is the notifications. अगर आप मेरा home page देखो, if you look at my home page on iPhone, it is so messy. There is Outlook, Instagram, notification, all messy. Like on top Instagram, in the middle Instagram, in the end Outlook. It's not organized at all. It is very messy. It's getting a bit fixed with priority notifications on iPhone, but still I have missed more important meetings through my iPhone than through Android because Android notifications are much cleaner. And also related to notification is that I am able to read the entire email in the notification, and for each email it's shows a separate box of notification, so I'm able to swipe, read everything I want to. I can do easily through Android and I feel more comfortable doing my office work on it. You know why? The number 3 reason is I can schedule text in iPhone. That will come, that feature is announced in WWDC that you can schedule text, because US it's a texting culture, not WhatsApp culture. Let's say I want to text my manager. I'm sleeping, let's say at 3 a.m. I want to text my manager. I will not text him at 3 a.m. Now I will either wake up at 9 a.m., send him a text कि यार work is done, or I can schedule a text for 9 a.m. through Android, which is possible today, but in iPhone it will be possible after 4 months on a stable version. So that's why this is the biggest reason from the last 1 year I have been using Android for my office work. And last I will say is the features that are free in Android, they are paid on iPhone. Let me show you with an example. For example, there is clipboard history free on Android. Let's say I copy this URL, then I copy something else. I can simply go to my Google keyboard. It has so many AI features, which iPhone is also coming with. But I can click on this clipboard history button and see all the things I copied immediately and use it. I can also turn it off for privacy if I want to. But on iPhone, if I want the same, I'll have to pay for an app. The app is like $20 a year subscription, and I don't want to pay for every single feature. Sometimes it becomes very overwhelming. Like, if you're a student, you don't want to keep paying for the features that you can get with an Android phone as a second phone which could be cheaper in long run. If I carry two phones, obviously it is more difficult to carry two phones. हमेशा दो phone charge करना पड़ता है, all that. But I get two experiences at the same time, and that is completely legal way of using the free features for free on Android and paid features, which are some features which are obviously better on iPhone with the iPhone. For example, its camera. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.